play some tunes to start, and Brian's going to sing a few songs as well. The first few tunes are ones I learned from my folks. My dad especially is a fiddle player too, Dermy Diamond is his name, and he has a habit of kind of remaking standard tunes into his own versions, often turning like tunes that might be like a piping tune into a major version, inspired by like, you know, people who play the melodeon often will do that because they don't have the full scale available on the keys in the melodeon. So he does that in the fiddle, and this is what happens. So the second one in particular is like that. So it's the Boys of 25, the Old Bush, and a tune at the end from the Donegal fiddler Mickey Doherty. Should we give him a whack? Cool. should I have actually introduced us to begin with?
Oh, I don't know.
In case you don't, I don't know who all knows us already. This is Brian. I'm Danny, and we live in Minneapolis in the US. But I'm from Belfast, originally raised in Dublin, and living over there a few years. And it's class to be over and class to play for you all. Thanks for coming in and for having us. And that's the they call that the back intro in the business, I think. You know,
Yeah.
it's this technique, kind of stagecraft stuff. You know, fancy.
Well executed.
Well,
That
thanks.
was good.
I'm proud.
You don't want to do the back intro before.
No, Jesus, you wouldn't want to do that. Yeah, this is what everyone's doing in the States these days.
Will we play those jigs?
Oh yeah, we are. I guess we did come all this way. Yeah. So, should I start?
Yeah.
With them, yeah. Oh yeah, we're going to play jigs. Actually, I think I encountered this first one in sessions first, but a big influence on deciding to play it was here in Ensemble La Rue's recording of it. That Jack was very much involved in driving the first Ensemble La Rue album. It's April's Fool, but written by Jimmy Keane from Chicago, piano accordion player, and followed up with a tune called the lead drum jig, the drum shambo jig, and then afterwards Pull the Knife and Stick It Again, which is just class. Like, as they say in the States, have a great rest of your day. You know, Pull the Knife, it's such a gruesome tune title. I really love that. And there's a story behind it about it was some kind of mythical hag, old woman who was had magic powers. Has anyone heard this crack? And she'd tell you if you tried to kill her, many people tried to kill her and failed because she'd always say, "Pull the knife and stick it again." And it sounds logical that you'd I'm going to mess it up. That you'd want to stab her lots of times, but actually that she was immune to that. You had to just stab her and keep it in, and that was the way to kill her, apparently. So, well, I always wondered why the tune was called that. Like, it's a heavy name, and apparently that's the reason. So, think about that now when we're playing it.
There you go. Something
Nice
to ponder.
mental imagery.
Oh, what is it again?
Sorry.
I got it. There you go. Well, it's so fun to be kind of back here for me. I know some of you from my old days being in Cork, but I went over here first as a study abroad student from the States in 2000, and when I met Michelle and Tommy and Aoife, maybe, I don't know, people that are here, but it was a really life-changing experience for me, and I fell in love with Cork, and then I kept coming back throughout my 20s, and had kids 10 years ago, and I haven't been over as much, so it's great to be back. It's great to be here with Danny. We get together at home and play tunes at Danny's house every week. We haven't actually played that many gigs together. We're just kind of starting, so
yeah,
it's really a fun way to kick off. Maybe more.
It's good to get out of the house.
It's good to get out of the house. We'll do a song. I've gotten really into Irish songs that came over to my part of the United States, and so we'll do one of those. It's called the Lady Leroy, and that's the name of a boat. I think Jimmy Crowley actually sings it over here. A bunch of people sing it over here, but most of the versions in the old dusty books are from the United States. It was really popular around the Great Lakes and in the lumber camps, believe it or not. But this particular version comes from Vermont, and we'll give it a try. We have two songs today, and they're both about eloping. No, wait, I said the wrong one. Well, we will do that one. Because I introduced it. We better do the one I introduced.
Yeah,
Yeah, so they go on a big, there's a lot of action in this song. A lot of action, pursuits and violence, love. It's a full feature film. But I won't spoil the ending. Sorry for the tuning break. It's better that way.
It's a kindness. It's a kindness, really.
It's awkward to do it in the middle of the song. Good. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Right Phoebus arose and shone over the plain. The birds were all singing, all nature serene. There came a young couple to the old Irish shore. They were viewing the ocean where wild billows do roar. Fair Sally, you're the girl I adore. To go away and leave you, it grieves my heart sore. Your father is rich, love, and angry with me. And were I to tarry, my ruin it would be. Sally put on a suit of men's clothes, and straight to her father, disguised she did go. Purchased a ship and paid down his demand. It's little did he dream 'twas from his only daughter's hand. Then it's back to her true love. These words she didn't say. Make haste and get ready, no time to delay. Make haste and get ready, let the bright colors fly. For over the ocean sails the Lady Leroy. But when her cruel father came this news to know, he swore his revenge on the true love she had chose. My daughter Sally will never be a wife, and for her disobedience I will take her sweet life. And he turned to his captain, grief and despair. The whole of the story to him did had not been sailing a week or 10 days, when out of the southeast there came a fine breeze. They saw a ship a-sailing which brought them great joy. Well, they hailed her and found 'twas the Lady Leroy. Says the captain, return unto old Ireland's shore, or a broadside of grape shot upon you I will pour. It was her true lover that made that reply. For the sake of my Sally, I will conquer or die. So broadside on broadside most furiously did pour, and louder than thunder bright cannons they did roar. At last our Irish heroes, they gained the victory. So hurrah for all fair maids, may they always go free.
It's a good old story.
It is, they got away in the end.
Um,
There's a bit of violence, but they made it.
I just need to check the set list here.
You're not doing your emails?
No, I'm like tweeting or whatever. You know. What does it say? What's that now? Highlands.
Highlands.
Do you want to play those?
I'd love to play those.
Cool. Yeah, so a lot of the music I play is from the north of Ireland generally. Like, I was born in Belfast to music playing parents. My mom, Tara Bingham, or Tara Diamond, Bingham's her maiden name, she kind of uses both. She plays the flute. And my dad, Dermy, who I mentioned earlier, plays the fiddle as well. And even like my maternal granddad played the flute as well, so there's kind of a background. But they weren't just in Belfast, they were travelling around the north, and Donegal, and the family all live in Donegal now, apart from me. And so there's lots of northern music in the background. And so these tunes are, actually, I've said that the first one is from a Donegal fiddle player called Hugh Gillespie from a 78 recording. He recorded it out in the US in the 1930s, called Gurren's Castle, which is another weird name. Gurren, I think it's like a misprint, but it was on the 78 and they circulated so widely, like if that was the name that was written down in the 30s, you know, it persisted. And then there's two I don't have names for, they're two Highlands from southwest Donegal that I just know from playing music up there. They're kind of not super well known tunes, but really nice. So, give them a crack.
next on
Do you
the
want to-
list there?
This is where we have your song on the list, but we don't.
Oh, we have my song on the list.
We do a different-
We'll do it then.
You could move something around.
All right, we're gonna
Alright.
elope again. This time over a much shorter distance, just between Newry and Tyrone, I think, in this song. But it's another one that comes from an archival recording made in the Upper Midwest. There is a very fascinating story about an island called Beaver Island in the north part of Lake Michigan, where for a while in the later part of the 1800s, it was almost all people from specifically Erinmore in Donegal that lived on. They moved from that relatively remote spot to a very remote island in the north part of Lake Michigan in the Upper Midwest. And there were a couple of folk song collectors that went there in the late 30s and recorded songs. They had all these amazing old songs, some of which maybe weren't sung as much over here even anymore, but probably came from over here. So this is one of those. I think this one, you said your sister sings a version of this. But anyway,
I've heard it over here, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Not
called
the same.
You're right. It's
Sorry.
called the County Tyrone. So. My parents often told me they could never control me. A weaver they would make me if I'd stay at home. I took another notion for higher promotion, to try other countries as well as to roam. When I came to Newry, it was there I fell a courting a charming young girl for a wife of my own. She swore by her conscience she would run all chances and go along with me to the county Tyrone. So early next morning, as day was a-dawning, we took a short ramble down by the milestone. The guards didn't pursue us, they could not get to us. I was wishing in my heart I had her in Tyrone. With great toil and trouble, our course we did go. We met with an old man who was walking alone. He told them where he met us and where they could get us, and that we'd been talking of the county Tyrone. Canal, it was near us where vessels were lying. I called out to one and our case I made known. They threw a plank to us, on shipboard they drew us, and told us the vessels bound for Tyrone. Well, now we are landed in my own native country. In spite of her parents, I have her at home. And so for to fish, she's my love, Jenny Annis, and I'm bold McGinnis of the county Tyrone. sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got a couple more like big sets of tunes or like long sets of tunes to play before we finish up. And again, like this first one, it's 4 jigs. Well, first one is kind of like not really a jig, it's slower, you know, it's like an air. It's called Type She Cuddle. It's like, I really like it, it's a little simple tune. I talked about this in Donegal when we played it on the weekend. I talked it up and then I just went straight into the second tune. So I'm just saying this so we all know that I'm not supposed to do that this time. Because the first two were really similar, so we're in this together. You have to not make shite of it this time. And so anyway, Type She Cuddle, it was a ghost of this fellow called Cuddle who lived on Slieve League in the cliffs, if you know them, near Teelan in County Donegal. And someone went up the cliffs for a walk and met the ghost who played the tune on the pipes. Apparently he had a set of pipes, and funnily enough, and then went back down and taught the tune. And there's a story that's much more elaborate and nicer than that terrible version I just told to go with the tune, and just a little kind of cute tune. And then there's a jig, I don't know the name of it, but it's from James Byrne, fiddle player up there, who I was lucky to learn loads of tunes from when I was a teenager, who died kind of before his time, and is really kept the specific local tradition from dying out. And then there's a tune called The Ladies of Carrick afterwards, and one again at the end, a weird one from my dad. It's a version of Hodgin Rafferty, but just a very unusual take on it. So that's the story.
Yeah.
one more.
Thanks so much for having us here, and thanks to the TradSoc. And like I said, it's a real treat for me to be back in Cork.
That's great for both of us. Yeah, it's a treat to play for you as well.
Yeah. And I don't know if just in case my kids are watching in Minnesota while they're having their breakfast, be good. Don't drag your feet getting on the bus this morning, okay?
Just when you think you're safe. Yeah.
Hi, Henry. Hi, Henry. Hi, Isabel.
Wow.
What are we playing? We doing the reels?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Great.
so. So yeah, that was lots of jigs and then lots of reels to finish. It's a very unconventional way to finish a gig, but you know, we'll do it anyway. We're radicals. So, yeah, it doesn't finish with the Bucks of Iron War though, so we're really pushing it out. We're what are we doing though? Playing a Claddy Fahy tune to start, and then kind of more northern, vaguely northern tunes. One that comes from accordion. I learned from accordion player Martin Quinn from Armagh. Then what is it? One of my folks learned from. It might be knocking around under different names, you know, but they learned it from a fiddle player called Felix Feely Kearney, who was Artie McGlynn's uncle, Artie the great guitar player, both from Omagh. Another of these guys who kind of kept music alive in that part of the country back in the early 60s when nobody was really interested in playing. And the last one is one that we learned of Paul Brady playing it on the guitar, called the Grand Canal. There you go. Thanks so much. Thanks a lot.